What if everything you've believed about the most pivotal moment in human history has been deliberately veiled from your understanding? Has this ever happened to you? You've heard a story so many times that you never questioned whether there might be layers of truth hidden beneath the surface? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Today, we're diving into revelations that could fundamentally shake the very foundations of Christian faith, yet paradoxically strengthen it in ways you never imagined possible. Edgar Cayce, the legendary sleeping prophet whose psychic readings astounded the world for decades, unveiled hidden details about the crucifixion of Jesus Christ that challenge everything we've been taught in traditional biblical accounts. These aren't just alternative interpretations or theological debates. These are profound spiritual revelations that suggest humanity's most famous story may not have unfolded exactly as we've been led to believe. But here's what might surprise you. According to Cayce, this isn't about deception or conspiracy. Instead, he revealed that the spiritual truth behind the crucifixion has been deliberately distorted over centuries, not to mislead us, but to protect revelations that humanity simply wasn't ready to receive. Imagine for a moment that the full magnitude of what actually occurred on that cross was so spiritually profound, so cosmically significant, that early followers had to create a protective veil around Jesus' true experience. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover challenges the very notion that the crucifixion was merely about physical suffering. Cayce described this pivotal moment as transcending simple physical torment, involving invisible energies and spiritual forces that transform the event into something cosmic in scope. We're not talking about just the death of a man. We're exploring an act that would create reverberations throughout all ages, affecting the very fabric of spiritual reality itself. Think about this. What if the cross wasn't primarily an instrument of torture, but rather a portal between dimensions? What if Jesus wasn't simply enduring pain, but was actually opening energetic pathways that would fundamentally alter humanity's relationship with the divine? These aren't just mystical concepts. They're revelations that could transform how every believer understands their faith, their purpose, and their own spiritual potential. Has this ever crossed your mind? That perhaps the disciples themselves knew there was far more to the story than what they recorded in the Gospels? Cayce suggested that certain followers perceived spiritual signs and cosmic events that escaped the understanding of most witnesses, yet they chose to document only what people of their time could comprehend and accept. The implications are staggering. If Cayce's revelations hold truth, then the crucifixion becomes not just a historical event we commemorate, but a spiritual blueprint that reveals something profound about the nature of consciousness, the power of love over death, and the eternal capacity of the human soul to transcend physical limitations. What you're about to discover might surprise you, because these revelations don't diminish the significance of Christ's sacrifice. They magnify it beyond anything traditional interpretation has ever suggested. We're about to explore how the sleeping prophet's visions reveal a crucifixion that operates on multiple dimensions simultaneously, where spiritual mastery and cosmic forces converge in ways that completely redefine our understanding of what it means to be human, what it means to suffer, and what it means to transcend. If these deeper revelations have opened new understanding for you, then this channel was made for people like you. Subscribe to continue exploring the profound spiritual truths that can genuinely transform your perspective. Now, I want to go even deeper into this revelation because what Cayce discovered about the essence of life itself will challenge every assumption you've ever held. For the sleeping prophet, comprehending the crucifixion wasn't just about understanding a historical event, it was about grasping the fundamental nature of life and the soul. This journey of understanding requires something most people find incredibly difficult: abandoning rigid religious concepts that have been programmed into our mindset since childhood. Think about the decisions we make when we approach sacred texts. We're often taught to read them literally, accepting surface meanings without questioning whether there might be hidden secrets woven throughout those verses. But Cayce revealed that the Bible contains layers of truth that go far deeper than literal interpretation, requiring a complete transformation in how we process spiritual information. This brings us to perhaps the most revolutionary aspect of his revelations. The sleeping prophet asserted that the crucifixion was never a defeat or tragic accident. Instead, it was a carefully orchestrated component of a grand spiritual plan that operates behind the scenes of human consciousness. Jesus understood exactly what would happen and prepared himself spiritually to face not only the physical pain, but something far more challenging: the complete incomprehension of humanity regarding his true mission. The impact of this revelation is staggering when you really absorb it. We're talking about a level of spiritual mastery that transforms our entire understanding of what happened on that cross. Cayce presented Jesus not as a victim of circumstances, political persecution, or religious conflict, but as a spiritual master performing a final act of surrender and unconditional love. This perspective completely reframes the crucifixion as being about transcendence rather than suffering, representing a conscious choice rather than a tragic fate. Imagine the mindset required for such mastery. Picture someone who not only knows their destiny, but embraces it willingly, understanding that their apparent suffering serves a purpose so profound that it will echo through centuries of human consciousness. This isn't just about religious faith. This is about a level of spiritual awareness that challenges everything we think we know about the limitations of human potential. The hidden truth here reveals something extraordinary about the nature of power itself. True power isn't about avoiding pain or controlling circumstances. It's about transcending them entirely through conscious alignment with forces greater than our individual will. Jesus, according to Cayce's revelations, demonstrated this ultimate mastery by transforming what appeared to be humanity's darkest hour into its greatest triumph. This journey of revelation shows us that the crucifixion was never really about death at all, but about the demonstration of eternal life operating through apparent limitation. The transformation that occurred that day wasn't just personal to Jesus. It opened doors of possibility for every human soul willing to embrace the same level of conscious surrender. Write in the comments, "This opens my mind," if you're beginning to see how these revelations might completely change your understanding of spiritual power and human potential. The reality behind these revelations becomes even more extraordinary when we explore what was actually happening on multiple levels during those crucial hours. According to Cayce's most profound insights, what truly occurred during the crucifixion was far more complex than the dramatic scene depicted in the Gospels. We're talking about invisible spiritual layers operating simultaneously with the physical events, creating a multidimensional experience that defies conventional understanding. Picture this journey unfolding not just on the earthly plane, but across multiple dimensions of existence. Cayce spoke of energetic portals being opened during this pivotal moment, establishing a direct connection between heaven and earth that had never existed before in human history. These weren't metaphorical connections. According to his revelations, actual spiritual doorways were being activated, allowing divine energy to flow into our reality in ways that would permanently alter the spiritual landscape of humanity. The transformation that occurred goes beyond anything our normal mindset can easily process. In Cayce's interpretation, the cross evolved from merely being an instrument of death into something far more significant, a bridge between different dimensions of existence. This cosmic event could not be understood through physical observation alone, because the spiritual dimension held the true key to comprehending its real significance and lasting impact. Think about the decisions required to accept such revelations. Cayce warned that this hidden truth might cause genuine discomfort to those who view faith as something fixed and unchangeable, like a belief system set in stone that must never be questioned. However, he believed that authentic faith only grows stronger when challenged, when it's tested against deeper revelations that push us beyond comfortable assumptions. By revealing a more mystical, less literal understanding of the Crucifixion, Cayce invited his listeners to embark on a journey that explores deeper levels of consciousness. This isn't about abandoning faith. It's about expanding it into territories that most people never knew existed. The behind-the-scenes reality of what happened involves spiritual mechanics that operate according to laws most of us have never been taught to recognize. If this exploration shifted your perspective on the crucifixion, that like button lets me know these deeper teachings are reaching people ready for this level of understanding. Consider the profound impact this has on how we understand spiritual power itself. If energetic portals were actually being opened, if dimensional bridges were being constructed through conscious sacrifice, then we're looking at a demonstration of spiritual technology that makes our most advanced scientific achievements look primitive by comparison. The crucifixion becomes not just a religious event, but a cosmic engineering project designed to upgrade humanity's spiritual capacity. This revelation challenges us to reconsider everything we think we know about the relationship between physical reality and spiritual truth. When Cayce described these invisible layers of activity, he was essentially revealing that our normal perception only captures a tiny fraction of what's actually happening during moments of profound spiritual significance. The transformation in understanding this creates doesn't just affect how we view historical events. It fundamentally alters our perception of what's possible in our own spiritual development and personal growth journey. Write in the comments, "I'm ready for deeper truth," if these revelations are opening your mind to possibilities you never considered before about the multidimensional nature of spiritual reality. The deeper we dive into these revelations, the more we realize that every traditional symbol we've associated with Christ's passion takes on completely new meanings. When viewed through this mystical lens, Cayce suggested that by presenting this more profound understanding, each element of the crucifixion story, the crown of thorns, the nails, the cross itself, becomes a transformational tool capable of revolutionizing our spiritual understanding rather than just reminding us of suffering. This shift in perspective creates a ripple effect throughout our entire belief system. The revelation was never intended to weaken faith, but to strengthen it by demonstrating the profound spiritual processes at work behind the scenes of what appeared to be humanity's darkest hour. When we understand these symbols as representations of internal spiritual mechanics rather than just historical artifacts, they become roadmaps for our own transformation journey. But here's where the hidden truth becomes personally revolutionary. If Jesus went through such a profound spiritual process during the crucifixion, then according to Cayce, every human being also carries within themselves the same capacity to transcend any pain or suffering they might encounter. The crucifixion thus evolves from being merely a historical event into an eternal lesson in the power of spirit over matter, applicable to every single person walking this earth. Think about the impact this has on how you approach your own challenges and difficulties. Instead of seeing pain as something to avoid or endure, this revelation suggests that suffering can become a doorway to spiritual mastery when approached with the right mindset and understanding. The decisions we make during our darkest moments suddenly carry far more significance than we ever imagined. Now, I want to explore the preparation process that made such transcendence possible, because what Cayce revealed about the days leading up to the crucifixion will completely transform your understanding of spiritual readiness. He described how Jesus was in deep communion with the spiritual world during this crucial period. Those hours of prayer and silence weren't just about seeking strength to endure what was coming. They were about aligning himself with a divine plan involving cosmic forces far beyond human understanding. This preparation process reveals something extraordinary about the relationship between human consciousness and universal intelligence. The behind-the-scenes reality shows us that true spiritual mastery requires deliberate alignment with forces greater than our individual will, creating a partnership between human intention and divine power that can accomplish what seems impossible. The journey Jesus undertook during those final days involved accessing levels of consciousness that most people never even know exist. Through this deep communion, he was essentially downloading cosmic instructions, receiving guidance from spiritual dimensions that operate according to laws we're only beginning to glimpse. This wasn't passive meditation. It was active collaboration with intelligence, systems that span multiple realities. When we understand this preparation process, we begin to see that the apparent suffering of the crucifixion was actually the culmination of the most sophisticated spiritual operation ever attempted on this planet. Write in the comments, "I understand the preparation," if you're beginning to see how deliberate spiritual alignment can transform even the most challenging circumstances into opportunities for transcendence. The sophistication of this spiritual operation becomes even more remarkable when we understand the level of consciousness Jesus maintained during this preparation period. According to Cayce's revelations, every thought and emotion carried enormous spiritual weight during those crucial days. This wasn't just mental preparation, it was energetic calibration at the highest levels imaginable. Jesus already knew exactly what he would face, but his mindset wasn't that of a passive victim approaching inevitable doom. Instead, he saw himself as a messenger who needed to fulfill a mission of love and spiritual awakening that would impact all humanity for generations to come. The decisions he made during this time weren't just personal choices. They were cosmic programming that would determine how divine energy could flow into our reality permanently. Each moment of prayer, each breath of meditation was actively shaping the spiritual infrastructure that would support humanity's evolutionary leap. What's absolutely extraordinary about this hidden truth is the remarkable serenity Jesus maintained despite knowing the certainty of physical pain that awaited him. Picture this. It was as if the weight of the world was literally on his shoulders, yet there was an inner light that nothing could extinguish. This illumination came from a profound certainty that nothing could truly destroy the essence of the soul, no matter what happened to the physical body. This level of spiritual mastery reveals something revolutionary about human potential. The transformation that's possible when we truly understand our eternal nature goes far beyond anything most people ever imagine. Behind the scenes of this apparent tragedy, a consciousness was operating that had completely transcended the fear of death, the attachment to physical comfort, and the need for external validation. But the impact of this preparation extended beyond Jesus himself into the very fabric of reality around him. Cayce described signs in the environment that were perceived only by those with heightened spiritual sensitivity. The air seemed denser, the skies quieter, as if nature itself was in anticipation of the momentous event about to unfold. This suggests that major spiritual events create ripples that affect not just human consciousness, but the entire energetic matrix of our planet. You're clearly someone on a serious journey of discovery. I'd love to have you subscribe so we can keep uncovering these hidden dimensions of ancient wisdom together. Think about what this means for understanding how consciousness interacts with physical reality. The journey Jesus was undertaking was so significant that it was literally changing the atmospheric conditions around him. Those with spiritual awareness could feel the shift, sensing that something unprecedented was building toward a moment that would alter the course of human spiritual evolution forever. The behind-the-scenes reality reveals that when someone operates at this level of spiritual alignment, their inner state begins to influence the external world in ways that defy conventional understanding. The preparation wasn't happening in isolation. It was creating a field of transformation that extended outward, preparing the entire environment for what was about to occur. Now, I want to reveal how this environmental sensitivity extended to the people around Jesus, because what Cayce discovered about the disciples' awareness during this period will show you something profound about spiritual perception. Write in the comments, "I feel the energy shift," if you've ever experienced moments when you could sense that something significant was about to happen even before any physical evidence appeared. The energies radiating from Jesus during this period created a palpable shift that affected everyone who came into his presence. According to Cayce's revelations, those who approached him felt something profoundly different, a mixture of peace and intensity that could not be explained in words or understood through rational analysis. Many people didn't comprehend what was happening logically, but on a deeper level, they sensed that something absolutely unique was about to unfold. This transformation in his energetic field reveals something extraordinary about how spiritual preparation affects not just the individual, but everyone within their sphere of influence. The decisions Jesus was making internally were creating ripples that people could feel even when they couldn't articulate what they were experiencing. Behind the scenes, his consciousness was operating at frequencies that were literally changing the spiritual atmosphere around him. What makes this even more fascinating is how every encounter Jesus had during these final days was laden with hidden meaning that most people completely missed. For Cayce, conversations with disciples, simple gestures, and even moments of silence held profound messages as Jesus carefully prepared each person to understand that the crucifixion would be a passage, not an ending. Every interaction was strategic, designed to plant seeds of understanding that would bloom after the apparent tragedy had unfolded. The impact of this preparation extended beyond what anyone could see with physical eyes. Each word spoken, each look exchanged, each moment of connection was part of an intricate process of consciousness transmission. Jesus was essentially downloading spiritual instructions into his followers, programming them with the understanding they would need to carry his mission forward when the transformation was complete. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Cayce's revelations involves what was happening on planes of existence that remain invisible to most human perception. On the spiritual level, there was intense activity as beings of light accompanied every step of Jesus' journey, while opposing forces simultaneously tried to undermine the entire mission. This was a veritable invisible battlefield where victory depended entirely on the power of love and faith operating at cosmic levels. Picture this hidden dimension of reality where spiritual warfare was being waged for the future of human consciousness itself. The journey Jesus was undertaking wasn't just about personal sacrifice. It was about establishing a beachhead for divine energy to permanently anchor itself in human reality. Every moment of preparation was crucial because the opposing forces understood exactly what was at stake. This reveals something profound about the nature of spiritual transformation on a planetary scale. Major evolutionary leaps don't happen without resistance from forces that prefer the status quo. The mindset required to navigate such opposition demands absolute clarity of purpose and unwavering alignment with love, regardless of what challenges emerge. Now, I want to explore the cosmic implications of this spiritual warfare, because what Cayce revealed about The universal significance of this battle will show you why the crucifixion had ramifications extending far beyond our planet. Write in the comments, "I see the bigger picture," if you're beginning to understand how individual spiritual transformation can impact the entire fabric of reality around us. The cosmic scope of this spiritual preparation reveals something absolutely mind-blowing about the interconnected nature of human consciousness. According to Cayce's revelations, these days before the crucifixion were not just moments of fear and tension for one individual, but represented profound spiritual preparation for an act that would echo through the centuries. The hidden truth that most people never grasp is that this preparation wasn't limited to Jesus alone. It somehow involved all of humanity at a level most of us can't even begin to comprehend. Think about the implications of this revelation. The journey Jesus was undertaking was so fundamentally connected to human evolution that every soul on the planet was somehow participating in the preparation process, whether they realized it or not. Behind the scenes, consciousness itself was being recalibrated to accommodate what was about to happen. The decisions being made weren't just affecting one person's destiny. They were reshaping the spiritual infrastructure that governs how divine energy flows into our reality. This brings us to perhaps the most revolutionary aspect of Cayce's understanding. Rather than simply being an instrument of torture leading to death, the cross represented a spiritual portal being opened between dimensions. At the moment of crucifixion, witnesses were not simply observing an execution. They were witnessing the opening of a bridge between the physical dimension and higher spheres of spirit that had never been accessible before. If you felt that spark of recognition while uncovering these hidden truths, hitting like helps these transformational insights reach others searching for the same breakthrough moments. The transformation this created in the fabric of reality itself defies everything we think we know about how the universe operates. Picture a doorway being constructed between worlds, allowing divine frequencies to anchor permanently in human experience. This wasn't metaphorical. According to Cayce, actual energetic pathways were being established that would fundamentally alter humanity's spiritual potential forever. But what makes this even more extraordinary is the mindset Jesus maintained throughout this process. He didn't see the cross as punishment, divine wrath, or tragic fate. Instead, he understood it as part of his spiritual journey toward the ultimate victory, the victory of spirit over flesh, consciousness over matter, love over fear. This realization completely transformed physical pain into a conscious sacrifice aimed at freeing not only himself, but all humanity from spiritual bondage. The impact of viewing the crucifixion through this lens changes everything about how we understand suffering, sacrifice, and spiritual power. When someone operates from this level of awareness, apparent defeat becomes actual victory, and what looks like ending becomes the ultimate beginning. The cross evolves from being a symbol of death into a symbol of transcendence, representing the moment when human consciousness broke through its limitations. Now, I want to reveal what was actually happening to Jesus' consciousness during the crucifixion itself, because Cayce's descriptions of altered states and spiritual mastery will show you capabilities of human awareness that most people never dream possible. Write in the comments, "Victory through spirit," if you're beginning to understand how apparent suffering can become the doorway to the greatest spiritual breakthroughs. What Cayce revealed about Jesus' consciousness during the actual crucifixion will completely revolutionize your understanding of human potential and spiritual mastery. According to his revelations, Jesus experienced altered states of consciousness that allowed him to operate on multiple levels of reality simultaneously. In certain moments, he would be fully connected to the spiritual plane, perceiving realities that those physically present could not even begin to comprehend. This extraordinary state of awareness allowed physical pain to be minimized, not through denial or escape, but through spiritual focus that transcended ordinary human limitations. Picture the level of consciousness development required to maintain such awareness while the body is experiencing intense trauma. The journey Jesus underwent during those hours wasn't just about enduring suffering. It was about demonstrating capabilities of human awareness that most people never realize exist. Behind the scenes of apparent agony, a consciousness was operating that had mastered the art of existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. This transformation in awareness reveals something profound about the hidden truth of human potential. When someone develops the mindset and spiritual alignment that Jesus had achieved, physical reality becomes just one layer of a much more complex experience. The decisions he made about where to focus his consciousness during those crucial hours were actively shaping not just his own experience, but the spiritual infrastructure of our entire planet. The impact of this multidimensional awareness extended far beyond personal transcendence. According to Cayce, the cross became a convergence point, where divine and earthly forces met in ways that had never happened before in human history. It was as if all human suffering and all divine love intersected in that singular instant, creating a spiritual impact that would span centuries and could be felt by those in spiritual attunement throughout time. Think about the cosmic significance of this moment. Every prayer ever prayed, every tear ever shed, every act of love ever expressed was somehow channeled through this convergence point, creating a permanent bridge between human experience and divine consciousness. The energetic mechanics operating during those hours established pathways that would allow future generations to access spiritual realities that had previously been unreachable. But perhaps the most revolutionary aspect of Cayce's interpretation involves how this applies to each of us personally. His revelations invite understanding that every person carries their own cross, their own challenges, struggles, and opportunities for transformation. Like Jesus, each of us has the chance to transform our burdens into bridges to light, rather than allowing them to become symbols of defeat. This shift in perspective could completely transform how people live their faith and approach their personal growth journey. Instead of seeing difficulties as punishments or random misfortunes, we begin to understand them as precisely designed opportunities for consciousness, expansion, and spiritual mastery. Now, I want to explore the most controversial aspect of Cayce's revelations, what he claimed actually happened to Jesus' physical body during the crucifixion, because this information challenges everything we think we know about the relationship between consciousness and matter. Write in the comments, "I choose transformation," if you're ready to see your own challenges as opportunities for spiritual breakthrough rather than obstacles to overcome. This brings us to perhaps the most controversial and mind-bending aspect of Cayce's revelations about the crucifixion. Among his most intriguing claims is that Jesus' physical body may not have experienced death in the traditional sense that we've been taught to understand. He suggested that a spiritual or energetic phenomenon altered the entire physical experience, directly related to Jesus' absolute mastery over both matter and spirit, that went far beyond anything most people can comprehend. The implications of this hidden truth are staggering when you really absorb what Cayce was revealing. We're talking about someone who had developed such complete consciousness control that the normal rules governing physical reality simply didn't apply in the same way. The journey of spiritual development Jesus had undertaken allowed him to transcend the limitations that govern ordinary human experience, demonstrating capabilities that challenge everything we think we know about the relationship between mind and matter. According to Cayce's revelations, Jesus' body could have entered what he described as a state of apparent death or energetic transition, rather than actual biological death. This would explain why some biblical accounts present different details about what happened on the cross, creating contradictions that have puzzled scholars for centuries. The transformation occurring wasn't just spiritual. It was a demonstration that true life is not limited to the physical body, and that consciousness can override matter when operating at sufficient levels of mastery. Think about the decisions required to achieve such control over physical reality. Behind the scenes of what appeared to be suffering and death, a consciousness was demonstrating the ultimate victory over material limitations. The mindset necessary for this level of mastery involves understanding that the body is essentially a projection of consciousness, rather than consciousness being a product of the body. But perhaps even more extraordinary is what Cayce described as bilocation, the possibility that Jesus was present both on the cross and in another dimension simultaneously. This phenomenon completely defies traditional logic and conventional understanding of how physical reality operates, yet it aligns perfectly with accounts of other enlightened masters throughout history who have demonstrated similar abilities. The impact of understanding this capability extends far beyond religious doctrine into the realm of human potential itself. When consciousness develops to certain levels, the normal constraints of space and time begin to dissolve, allowing awareness to exist in multiple locations or dimensions at once. This isn't fantasy or wishful thinking. It's a documented phenomenon that reveals extraordinary possibilities about the nature of consciousness. What makes this revelation even more profound is that it suggests the Crucifixion was operating as a cosmic demonstration of capabilities that potentially exist within every human being. The transformation Jesus underwent wasn't just personal, it was a preview of human evolutionary potential when consciousness is developed to its fullest expression. Now, I want to explore how this understanding of transcendent consciousness relates to the disciples and what they actually witnessed during those crucial hours, because what Cayce revealed about their hidden knowledge will transform your understanding of the entire New Testament narrative. Write in the comments, consciousness over matter, if these revelations are opening your mind to possibilities about human potential that go far beyond what you previously thought possible. The revolutionary implications become even more profound when we understand that, according to Cayce, this ability to transcend matter was not exclusive to Jesus alone. He experienced it in its purest and most perfect form, but the crucifixion was essentially a demonstration of what becomes possible for every human being who achieves the same level of connection with the divine. This completely transforms our understanding of human potential and what we're actually capable of achieving through consciousness development. Think about the impact this has on how you view your own spiritual journey. The transformation Jesus underwent wasn't meant to be an isolated miracle that sets him apart from the rest of humanity. It was a preview of our collective evolutionary destiny. Behind the scenes of what appeared to be unique divine intervention, we're actually witnessing a demonstration of advanced human capabilities that exist as potential within every soul. The decisions we make about how to approach our own spiritual development suddenly carry far more significance when we realize we're working toward the same level of mastery that allowed Jesus to transcend physical limitations entirely. The mindset required for such achievement involves understanding that matter is simply crystallized consciousness, and when consciousness evolves sufficiently, it can reshape or transcend material reality at will. Cayce invited us to view the crucifixion not simply as a painful death, but as a silent triumph over human limitations that reveals something extraordinary about our true nature. It serves as a reminder that when properly aligned with divine consciousness, matter has no ultimate power over us, and the soul emerges as the eternal bearer of light that cannot be extinguished by any physical circumstance. This perspective completely reframes how we understand suffering, challenge, and apparent defeat in our own lives. Every difficulty becomes an opportunity to practice the same kind of transcendence that Jesus demonstrated, turning obstacles into stepping stones toward greater spiritual mastery. But here's where the hidden truth becomes even more fascinating. According to Cayce's revelations, the disciples were not merely passive witnesses to the Crucifixion. They were actually guardians of profound truths that could not be revealed openly to the masses. Some of them, particularly Peter, John, and Mary Magdalene, perceived spiritual signs and cosmic events that escaped the awareness of most observers, yet they made deliberate decisions to record only what people of their time could understand and accept. The journey of consciousness development these disciples had undertaken allowed them to perceive multiple dimensions of what was actually happening during those crucial hours. They witnessed the energetic portals opening, felt the cosmic forces converging, and understood the multi-dimensional nature of what appeared to be simple execution. Now, I want to explore the strategic reasons behind this concealment and how the symbolic language of the Gospels was deliberately designed to protect profound truths while preserving them for future generations ready to understand their deeper meaning. Write in the comments, "I'm ready" for hidden truths if you're beginning to understand that there may be layers of spiritual knowledge deliberately concealed within familiar religious narratives. The strategic brilliance behind this concealment becomes clear when we understand how the symbolic language of the Gospels was deliberately crafted to serve multiple purposes simultaneously. Many passages were written to conceal profound truths within simple narratives, creating a protective layer that allowed these revolutionary teachings to survive, even if some deeper meaning was lost to those less spiritually prepared to handle such transformational knowledge. This reveals something extraordinary about the mindset required to preserve spiritual wisdom across centuries of potential persecution and misunderstanding. The disciples made careful decisions about how to encode cosmic truths within stories that would appear harmless to authorities, while remaining accessible to future generations ready for deeper understanding. Behind the scenes of familiar parables and narratives, layers of advanced spiritual instruction were being embedded like time capsules, waiting for humanity to evolve enough to decode them. The impact of this encoding strategy extends far beyond simple protection from persecution. What appears to be biblical contradictions or inconsistencies often represent deliberate clues left for those seeking to understand the story on multiple levels. The journey of spiritual development required to perceive these hidden meanings ensures that only those with sufficient consciousness preparation would access knowledge that could be dangerous in unprepared hands. According to Cayce's revelations, the disciples' restraint in fully disclosing what they witnessed was not cowardice or lack of understanding, but rather divine strategy operating at the highest levels. Holding back certain truths protected them from even fiercer persecution, while ensuring that this information would emerge gradually, like seeds planted in humanity's collective heart that would sprout when conditions became favorable. This gradual revelation process demonstrates profound wisdom about how consciousness evolution works on a planetary scale. Truth that emerges too quickly can create shock, resistance, or even dangerous misapplication. The transformation required to integrate these teachings safely takes time, patience, and careful preparation across generations. But perhaps the most mind-bending aspect of Cayce's revelations involves what actually happened during the resurrection itself. For the sleeping prophet, this event was not just Jesus' physical return to life in the way most people understand it, but rather the ultimate manifestation of his true spiritual nature finally being revealed without concealment. The body that appeared after 3 days was not limited by ordinary matter in any conventional sense, but was what Cayce described as a glorified body capable of moving between dimensions at will. Think about the implications of this transformation. We're not talking about resuscitation or healing from near death, but about consciousness demonstrating complete mastery over physical form itself. The resurrection becomes proof that what we consider solid matter is actually far more malleable than we ever imagined when approached from sufficiently developed spiritual awareness. Now I want to explore the specific ways this glorified body demonstrated capabilities that defied every known law of physics, because what Cayce revealed about Jesus' post-resurrection appearances will show you possibilities about consciousness that most people never dream exist. Write in the comments, "I see the deeper code," if you're beginning to recognize that familiar spiritual texts might contain layers of encoded wisdom waiting to be discovered by those ready for advanced understanding. The resurrection served as undeniable proof that death has absolutely no power over the spirit, revealing a hidden truth that transforms everything we think we know about the nature of existence itself. Jesus used this extraordinary moment to teach practically and conclusively that life is continuous and cannot be destroyed by any physical circumstance, no matter how final it might appear. This demonstration was designed to inspire courage during our darkest trials and unshakable faith when we face loss in our own journey through life. But the impact of this revelation goes far deeper than simple comfort during difficult times. What Cayce discovered about the resurrection challenges our entire understanding of consciousness, identity, and human potential. Behind the scenes of what appeared to be miraculous intervention, we're actually witnessing a demonstration of capabilities that exist as dormant potential within every soul willing to undertake the necessary transformation. The most hidden aspect of the resurrection, according to Cayce's revelations, involved Jesus' remarkable ability to shape his form, to convey precisely the right message to each person who encountered him. To Mary Magdalene, he appeared in a personal and intimate way that addressed her specific emotional needs. To the disciples walking to Emmaus, he manifested as an ordinary traveler, allowing them to process their grief and confusion gradually. And to Thomas, who required concrete evidence, he appeared with the tangible solidity of a physical body that could be touched and examined. Think about the level of consciousness mastery this demonstrates. The decisions about how to appear to each person weren't random. They were precisely calibrated to meet each individual where they were in their spiritual development and emotional state. This reveals something extraordinary about how advanced consciousness can interact with multiple people simultaneously while providing exactly what each person needs for their growth. The transformation Jesus had undergone freed him completely from the limitations that govern ordinary human experience. After the resurrection, he was no longer subject to pain, time, or distance in any conventional sense. He became free to move between different planes of existence at will, guiding his followers until they developed sufficient understanding and capability to continue his work independently. This freedom from physical limitations wasn't just about supernatural abilities, it was a demonstration of the true, spiritual state that becomes possible for all souls who achieve sufficient consciousness development. The mindset required to reach this level involves understanding that what we consider solid reality is actually far more fluid and responsive to consciousness than most people ever realize. What makes this revelation even more profound is how it reframes our understanding of human potential and spiritual evolution. The journey Jesus completed through the crucifixion and resurrection wasn't meant to be a unique divine intervention, but rather a preview of the transformation available to every consciousness willing to transcend the limitations of material identification. Now, I want to explore how this understanding of transcendent consciousness should actually impact our daily lives and spiritual practice, because what Cayce revealed about applying these teachings will show you how ancient wisdom becomes practical transformation in the modern world. Write in the comments, "Beyond all, limitations. If you're beginning to understand that the resurrection demonstrates possibilities for consciousness that extend far beyond what most people consider achievable. The profound beauty of Cayce's revelations lies in how they actually strengthen faith rather than undermining it. Understanding the crucifixion from this expanded spiritual perspective shouldn't shake anyone's beliefs, but should deepen them in ways that create unshakable foundations. By realizing that Jesus transcended physical pain and death itself through consciousness mastery, Christians can finally understand that the gospel's central message has always been about ultimate victory, not tragic defeat. This transformation in understanding creates a completely different relationship with spiritual practice and personal growth. The journey of faith evolves from something we passively receive into something we actively participate in every single day. Faith becomes participatory rather than passive, shifting from just waiting for miracles to actively living the teachings of love, forgiveness, and service that Jesus demonstrated. His life becomes a practical example for everyday application rather than a distant ideal we can only admire from afar. Think about the impact this has on how you approach your daily decisions and challenges. Instead of seeing yourself as powerless and dependent on external salvation, you begin to understand that you have access to the same spiritual resources that allowed Jesus to transcend every limitation. The mindset required for this transformation involves recognizing that the power demonstrated during the crucifixion and resurrection exists as potential within your own consciousness. The cross itself undergoes a revolutionary transformation in meaning when viewed through this lens. Rather than remaining a symbol of suffering and sacrifice that makes us feel guilty or sorrowful, it becomes a powerful symbol of transformation and transcendence that inspires courage and possibility. Cayce believed that when this hidden truth becomes widely understood, Christian faith will undergo a massive leap of consciousness, replacing fear-based worship focused on avoiding damnation with trust-based faith grounded in divine love and eternal security. This shift from fear to love changes everything about how we live, pray, work, and relate to others. Behind the scenes of traditional religious practice, a new kind of spirituality emerges that's based on joy, empowerment, and conscious participation in divine evolution rather than guilt, limitation, and passive dependence. At the heart of all Cayce's revelations about the crucifixion was one central message that ties everything together. Life is eternal, and love is the most powerful force in the universe. Jesus' mission wasn't only to save humanity through external intervention, but to demonstrate that every person can overcome their own crosses through the indestructible power of spirit and love. Operating through developed consciousness, the eternal nature of this message means it's as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. Every challenge you face, every difficulty that seems overwhelming, every moment when you feel defeated becomes an opportunity to apply the same principles that allowed Jesus to transform apparent tragedy into ultimate triumph. Now, I want to bring all these revelations together and show you exactly how to apply this ancient wisdom in your modern life. Because understanding these truths intellectually is just the beginning of a transformation that can revolutionize every aspect of your existence. Write in the comments, "Love conquers all," if you're ready to embrace a faith based on empowerment and victory rather than fear and limitation. If you've made it this far in our exploration of Edgar Cayce's extraordinary revelations about the crucifixion, then you're clearly someone who isn't afraid to question, to dig deeper, and to expand your understanding beyond conventional boundaries. These aren't easy concepts to absorb, and the fact that you've stayed with me through this entire journey tells me something important about your spiritual curiosity and openness to transformation. The content we explore on this channel is specifically designed for people like you, those who are ready to move beyond surface-level spirituality and dive into the profound mysteries that can actually change how you live and experience life. If these revelations have resonated with you, I'd love to have you subscribe so we can continue this journey of discovery together. There's so much more hidden wisdom waiting to be uncovered, and I'm committed to bringing you the most transformational insights I can find. If you made it all the way to the end of this exploration, write in the comments, "This message was meant for me." It helps me know that these deeper teachings are reaching the right people, those who are truly ready for this level of spiritual understanding. And if you felt that connection throughout our time together today, that sense of discovering something that could genuinely transform your perspective, then hitting the like button helps ensure these revelations reach others who are seeking the same kind of breakthrough understanding you've experienced here. There's a video right here that complements this topic perfectly, diving even deeper into how these ancient mysteries apply to your personal spiritual development. Click and continue with me over there, because what we've uncovered today is just the beginning of what's possible when you're willing to explore the hidden dimensions of spiritual truth. The journey continues, and I'm grateful you're walking this path of discovery alongside me.